Hello and welcome to Fake Take, the YouTube show where 4 of your favorite Fire Emblem content creators show up to give their uninformed, uncensored, and unsolicited takes on Fire Emblem's hottest issues. However, there's a twist. One of the people in the call actually has a fake take. The person with the fake take has to try to defend an opinion that they don't actually believe in against the other 3 and make sure that they don't get caught out. Who will figure it out and who will get left behind? Find out on Fake Take. New episodes every week. Hello everybody and welcome to episode 1 of Fake Take. Today I'm here with 3 of your favorite Fates creators. We've got Meisterschwer in the booth.
Yo, you should play Rav.
We've got Farron.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And we have Septi.
I got roped into this somehow.
Okay, so today's topic is going to be Amber Spawns. Are Amber Spawns fair? Can they be implemented better? Are they good as they are? And basically, is it possible to implement them fairly? Basically, just Amber Spawns with a big question mark after it. Why don't you get us started, Farron?
Well, ambush spawns, they have a couple of definitions to them, but the main definition that most people say when ambush spawns is same turn reinforcements, that being they spawn on the enemy phase and then act on the enemy phase. There's some other variations, like you walk into a room and then a ton of reinforcements will immediately spawn, but you still have your player phase. That's not the same thing as what people usually complain about. I think ambush spawns are inherently unfair, and it's pretty hard for them to be used well unless they're across the map where you can reasonably not be immediately killed by them. You're dying to a lack of information. You physically could not know that they would spawn there, and even if they did, even if they tell you, in Awakening, they tell you, oh, the wyverns could be here any minute. They don't tell you the exact turn, they don't tell you what stats they have, they don't tell you what weapons they have. It's just inherently unfair and makes you play with giant 7 or 8 tile radius danger zones that are just not fun to be in. You can't put your dancers, you can't put your squishies, you can't put anyone there. And then even a ton of your combat units, you have to just walk around those areas, which Area of Denial can be fun, but when you do not know what the threat is, it's really, really frustrating. Same thing with Fog of War. You lack of information, which you cannot prepare for. You would have to put in your most powerful combat units and maybe inch forward. For example, if you're in an Iron Man setting, you're slowly inching forward, not knowing what the trigger is, when they're going to show up, what they're going to do. Maybe it's mages, and your armor knight that was be perfect to take out those wyverns immediately dies. It's really just impossible to tell, and it's just inherently unfair to the player. I really hate them. I love that Fates technically only has 1 instance of it, but it's in Birthright where Xander is across the entire map from you, and you physically cannot get yourself killed unless you're trying to do it. But every other opportunity is way more fair levels of difficulty, something that you can prepare for, not just, oh hey, there was a thief behind that corner and he stabbed you. Guess you should have prepared for something you could not have predicted, huh?
Alright, no, that's fair. Next up is me, I guess. Yeah, I'm on the same boat as Farron. I think that it's, there is no such thing as an ethical ambush spawn. It's like how there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. There is no ethical reinforcements under the ambush spawn umbrella. The problem that I have with the ambush spawn is that it doesn't serve a purpose that's unique. The people that are defenders of this concept will posit the idea that ambush spawns force players to go faster or would be farmed for EXP if they weren't ambush spawns. And I think both of these are extremely delusional takes. The problem with ambush spawns is the fact that you are technically forcing the player to go faster, but that's the worst way of getting a player invested in something. If you screw a player over for doing something that you don't want them to do instead of rewarding them for doing something that you do want them to do, it's gonna fuck them over, and that's what they're gonna remember about the game, not that they had fun when they played the way that you wanted them to play. I think it's just a really anti-newcomer way of perceiving and dealing with reinforcements as a concept, that argument doesn't really hold much water for me. The argument that holds even less water is the idea that you would just farm them for EXP if they weren't ambush spawns. The only difference between an ambush spawn and a non-ambush spawn is that you have to place yourself further back in the map to farm the ambush spawn for EXP. If on the Tiki Paralog and Engage, for example, the ambush spawns, the reinforcements that are the ice dragons weren't non-ambush spawns and they just immediately could attack the turn they spawn, the only difference is I would just be moving further up the map to farm them for EXP. It wouldn't change anything. I might take some extra damage, but it's like 3 turns in between each reinforcement. It's not a big deal. You can heal up pretty easily. The only argument that I can even see sort of makes sense is the idea that ambush spawns sometimes are helpful for gameplay plot coherence. If you want the tone to be a bit more frantic, like something like Engage Chapter 11, you might want to invest in ambush spawns. But even then, I feel like it's just a lazy way of implementing something that could be implemented in a more elegant and productive fashion. I think you're up next, Septi.
Okay. Yeah, I disagree with basically everything that both of you have said up until this point. I think it's completely possible to make perfectly fine ambush spawns. For some reason, Fire Emblem players have this idea in their head that if there is ever uncertainty and if they ever have a chance of loot, like, if they ever have to require any amount of thought and don't just immediately have a 100% chance of success with all information given to them, then it's unfair. Which is bizarre to me. Basically, no other strategy RPG works like that. Fog of War not being like the norm in Fire Emblem is already weird. And so I think ambush spawns are, they can be done poorly, but I think it's entirely possible to do them really well and make them an interesting part of the map. The ones that I like a lot that come to mind are the Three Houses, Chapter 5 Miquelon Tower ambush spawns. I really like those ones because they are zone-based. So you cross a zone, and then they appear. So they will almost always be able to immediately reach you. So you have to be preparing for a group of enemies that will hit you on enemy phase. Rather than how a lot of FE players play where they just clump up and move in this forward ball, and then they get to an enemy group, and then they one-round everything on player phase so that they never have to interact with the concept of enemy phase because they're too scared of the possibility of enemies attacking. Whereas ambush spawns force a player to actually come up with a strategy that addresses the approaching enemies if they're done well. And so I think a lot of the zone-based ones that can immediately jump out at you can create really interesting little puzzles to solve. And I think even the ones in, Awakening are fine. You don't know exactly where the enemies can be, but you don't have to, cower in fear, every single enemy will instantly kill you. You know roughly how strong an enemy is. You know which units can survive a wyvern and which units can't. And then you can plan for that and just play around them. And so I don't think they're inherently unfair. I think FE does a generally pretty poor job of implementing them, but I do think they're perfectly fine mechanically to exist.
I got a lot to say about that, and I'm sure Farron does too, but we're going to let Meister finish it off before we go into open discussion.
I think we should do a recross kind of thing, where
yeah, of course, we're
each
going to
of
have
us
an
goes
open
back and
discussion
redoubles
after.
our points.
Yeah.
I want to say that while generally I think that ambush spawns are a really interesting means of encouraging a specific gameplay style, like most ways that Fire Emblem tries to encourage a specific gameplay style, it is either way too heavy-handed or way too cheesable. With those Chapter 5 reinforcements in Three Houses, I would have no problem with zone-based ambush spawns, but did they have to have pass? I think specifically the fact, I get the turn wheel argument, but I think specifically if you're doing ambush spawns, they shouldn't exist in a way where it's like a ha 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 ha, I am going to torture my players kind of way, which is what I feel a lot of Three Houses maddening design is, oh, you're not breaking the game, suffer. And I think that ambush spawns can be used really well. I think that Awakening Hard is a difficulty I actually like a lot, and I think if it, gave all enemies after Chapter 10, +5 in every stat, I think it would be, a near-perfect difficulty. It would be, a really good, second difficulty, and I think ambush spawns are kind of part of that because they aren't necessarily strong enough that you can't enemy phase them. It's still awakening hard, but you have a vague idea of when they're going to be, and so it creates this risk reward of, do I leave a unit behind to deal with them, or in a game that's super defeat boss oriented, do I continue rushing forward? And with those, whereas I think a game like New Mystery does ambush spawns really poorly, because it's like, oh, you know, I see you, whoa, 35 wyverns be upon me, and if they were toned down a bit, I think that would be a really cool incentive. But I think generally Fire Emblem does them pretty poorly, but they are, like, in concept a good idea, if just implemented horribly as Fire Emblem is wont to do.
Okay, first of all, I need to talk about this idea of playing around the ambush spawns. You're not playing. You can't play around something that you don't know about. So how are you supposed to? How are you supposed to play? You're supposed to play around the echidna ambush spawns. You're supposed to play around those. You're supposed to play around those by. You're supposed to beam your psychic knowledge into the game developer's head and know that they exist.
I'm assuming player who has never played the game before.
Them badly.
So, okay, someone I know in the Mecha Discord created a FE6 hack that had randomly generated ambush spawns every other turn. Or maybe it was every turn. Regardless, random ambush spawns, completely unpredictable, still completely able to Iron Man the game. 2 people beat it on an Iron Man consecutively.
Just because it can be beaten doesn't mean that it's good, Septi. I'm sure you also know
but my
that.
point is that you can play around these ambush spawns.
Yes, but I need to ask you this. Do you think that that's interesting gameplay? The way that it was played around, was that interesting gameplay? Was that like what?
Yeah, it was really cool actually.
What did they do? Did they not just clump up?
It was a lot of like training armor knights. Like Boars got trained. Like generally any unit with like good defensive stats got trained. To create like an actual formation. It was interesting.
And how is that? When you say random, do you mean like it was any tile in the game?
Literally any tile that that enemy type could walk on.
I don't know. I feel like the problem. I think that honestly, I think you're low key, kind of selling me on the idea that like if it was like this is gonna happen every single map, every single turn, I would be so much more on.
Something's going to happen in general.
Every single Fire Emblem game is so inconsistent with how they implement and when they implement ambush spawns.
Three Houses never tells you. It never tells you that those
but like
thieves will show
Awakening
up there.
tells you 90% of the time.
That's the thing. The 90% is not good enough because now you know that if you get fucked over once by the 10%, suddenly there's this boogeyman that exists that you have to constantly be tiptoeing around because you don't know because you don't know when the boogeyman's going to show up again. Even if it only shows up like once more, you don't know when that one time is.
Sure, and that's a problem with the design, but I do think I'm not going to throw out the entire concept because 10% of the time Awakening does it wrong. If they do it right the other 90% of the time, I'm going to say this concept is pretty decent and can work as long as they fix the other 10% instead of throwing the whole thing out.
Right, like, can you give me this one for a bit? I want to talk about the Chapter 5 Miquelon chapter, because
sure,
that one is an egregious example of some of the worst ambush spawns possible. It gives you no indication that there will be ambush spawns there. They show up, and you're just playing the map as normally, and then they kill someone, and then you're forced to use one of your Divine Pulses to play that area again, and have only Byleth or your Lord walk forward, take care of them, and then be afraid every single other corner of that map when ambush spawns never show up around the corner again. So it just makes you play longer. It's just awful. Maybe if they said, hey, that corner looks suspicious, but even then, that doesn't mean anything. Like,
honestly,
for one, there are a lot of ways to solve this problem besides just throw Byleth. Like, there are a lot of solutions to these. There are so many interesting solutions to that problem.
But I think all of the solutions involve you knowing that they exist.
Sure, and that's a game with Divine Pulse, so, like, it's fine.
This is the thing. The scary thing is that she has the exact mentality of imposter, but she's always disagreeing with everything.
I think Septi is the least sus person in this call, even though I disagree with every single thing that she's said so far, and that's kind of pissing me off. But you know what? We'll make it work.
I think she's masking it. I think it might be her because I feel like you two are genuine.
No, but like I sort of get the problem. Okay, I think that if you go by this idea that like the average person playing the Fire Emblem game is fine with, like in a Divine Pulse game, if you're going to use that as the defense for it, I think in that, like, with that preconception, it's sort of fine. Ugh, I don't really like it, but like I think
5 Divine Pulses. You're literally like, okay, the thieves take 1 of them. You still have 4.
No, I'm not saying that you should assume that a person could use 5 Divine Pulses by then. I'm saying that it's not really that fair to, like, it's like really heavy-handed is the main problem. It's that, like, I think that it's much more, Fire Emblem is much more satisfying when it's not necessarily forcing you or pushing you really hard into doing something, but instead, like, encouraging you to play a certain way. Like, Fates really encourages, like, good positioning, because it's rewarded but in a ton of different ways. You get your adjacency bonuses, you have a bunch of skills that help out units in 2 tiles, your party being together and like not paired up means that you have a bunch of different extra actions on player phase. Like, it encourages good positioning in a lot of ways positively. I think that when you go towards negative reinforcement, you're just running a risk that you really don't need to be running, I feel like. I think it's definitely more excusable in a Divine Pulse game. I'll give you that one for sure. I don't know, but I think that in a world like in a world where we have stuff like FE6 Chapter 11A has the Cavalier ambush spawns from the start, which are pretty fine. Like, I don't like it. Like, you could just spawn them a turn early and have them not be ambush spawns, but whatever. It's not a big deal. It's fine. There's also the Klein ambush spawns, which spawn and then Klein has a chance to not move, which is just fucking weird. It just doesn't really make any sense that it's implemented
Klein having a chance to not move is entirely a different problem, which I agree, that's a problem. The problem is that sometimes Klein isn't an ambush spawn.
Right. That's not. It's not. I mean, that just adds to the like general like status of FE6 being a game that thrives on being extremely inconsistent. And then you have the really fucked up Echidna ambush spawns that just show up in the middle of the map ahead of you just to cook you in a game without Divine Pulse. I think if FE6 had Divine Pulse, honestly, the game would be a lot more playable. Because the game does like to blindside you, and I think that if you're signing that social contract with the player and giving them away that like blindsiding you is not like a super big loss, it's fine. But I don't know. I just don't think it's. It just makes the player afraid of the game. I don't think you want your player to be afraid of the game. I think you want them to have fun.
Yeah, I don't think there should be just like a chance of like, if I do this action, someone could just die from something I could not predict, and now I have to use up a resource to prevent that from happening, or I have to restart the map. How? I mean, like, yeah, there's like a door there,
okay.
But you
FE6,
don't inherently know
aside
that.
from the Echidna ones, they're almost always from doors, from forts, from the sides of maps. So, like, don't put units who get one-rounded by the weak FE6 enemies next to things
Weak
that you
FE6
know
enemies? Like, we need to stop the cap here. They're stronger than your units.
No, they're not.
Yes.
Not by the time ambush spawns are frequent.
Okay, maybe true. If they're unpromoted,
So, like,
you're right.
Yeah, and promoted ambush spawns almost never happen in FE6.
That's fair.
So, like, don't put, like, okay, you go into, say, Chapter 16, you see those stairs, don't put your dancer next to the stairs.
But like,
Put
what
someone,
does that
like,
add to the
Edgar next
game?
the
Like,
stairs.
right? Like, what does that add to the game? Like, okay, now there's just like a 6-tile radius around stairs that you don't put your your frail units in. I mean, you can do it. It's very consistent.
Nothing to the
You've
game.
added a complication to positioning now.
I guess so.
Yeah,
But the problem is, like, in
that is a
FE6, like, what's the big
theoretical.
deal? Like positioning, like constraining your positioning isn't. Well, I guess it is kind of a big deal. Depending on the.
If
point
you've got
of
a Roy supported with the Cavs, yeah, that's a big deal.
I don't know. I think that like aside from the Echidna ambush spawns, FE6 is like errs on the side of it being like more excusable. I still don't like it for what it's worth. I would much rather they just not exist. But I think in general, the main like it's just you don't know. Though you don't know what you need to basically read the game developer's mind and figure out how they feel about ambush spawns at this particular time in the series' history, and then use that to determine how you're gonna handle it.
I think
mean,
the most
you can-
important thing for this debate is I'm putting this in the mind of a player who's never played the game before, because anyone who's played the game before would have no qualms of just pulling up a
So-
guide on where the ambush spawns are, and then they lose their purpose anyways. Ambush spawns are
Except that
inherently most
FE
unfair
games
to
don't
first
have ambush
player.
spawns on the lowest difficulty.
Is
I
that
wish they
true?
didn't have them on any.
Is that true?
Most
Because
of them.
Awakening takes care of.
yeah, Awakening
gets rid of
doesn't.
them.
Three Houses doesn't.
Awakening does, as Three Houses doesn't. Not sure about FE6.
FE12,
But, like-
FE12 on normal mode doesn't have them, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
so like most of the FE games remove them on the lowest difficulty, so it's not a new player problem.
I mean, I think, I don't know. I think that the perspective, the dev perspective on Amber Spawns should be very apparent, considering that they just have started taking them out of the games.
Well, they haven't.
I
Three
think
Houses,
on-
but-
I think that ambush spawns are on route maps especially. I have no problems with ambush spawns because when you have reinforcements that don't move on the same turn in a route map, it just takes forever.
Okay, but that's like a problem with the concept of having reinforcements on a route map to begin with.
That's
Like
fair.
the Scarlet spawns on Conquest 13 are fine because they have a ton of movement. They can get to your army wherever they are in 3 turns. And they're the only reinforcements. I still would rather they sort of not be reinforcements, but it's not that big of a deal.
I do kind of like the
I think that's-
situation it makes, where like you're attacked at all sides all of a sudden, but you can prepare for it because you have a turn to prepare for it. It's not like
I think I
ambush
would
spawns
literally
where you
rather
walk
those be
there.
ambush spawns.
I mean, sometimes kind of, but like also, yeah. I mean, in that situation, yes. But I would much rather like not. I don't know. Like I think that
I
people
wouldn't.
should be allowed to play a game. It's this idea where like you act based on the information that you were given to the best of your ability, and then you get punished for it. And I just don't. I'm not a fan of that. Because there are times where you'll just do the best you can and get punished. But I will say, actually, ambush spawns are not the mechanic that punishes you the most for playing well. That's actually Fog of War, I think, is the one that punishes you for playing the most. Like, if you play according to the game, the way the game wants you to play, use torches, shit like that, there's still a chance you just get completely fucked on Fog of War.
What about treasure?
Okay, so I think that's the worst take that anyone has said in this entire call, but that's also not the subject of the conversation.
Yeah, no, we gotta move
so
on.
I'd rather ask
No, I'm ready to
Meister's
vote.
Opinion.
Yeah, no,
because
Meister, you
Meister
gotta.
hasn't been talking much. I'd want to know Meister's opinion on would the Chapter 13 Conquest ones be better as ambush spawns?
Honestly, those guys are like such not a concern of mine at this point because it's just like, oh hey, more enemies and they're conquest enemies, so I just kill them.
I actually have a perspective on them. The fact that they spawn super far away from the group that you're attacking is interesting. I think if they shift them a couple of tiles up, they could become ambush spawns, but at that point, they would just all move towards your group. Then you could just have them spawn normally there anyways. There's no real point, because now you have like a chance of just immediately dying if you happen to have a unit like by the cabs, and 4 cabs show up and like kill Charlotte. Like, that's not fun. Like you're going
It's
around the
also
map.
a huge loss.
Hey, I like to leave my units alive. I know everyone doesn't do that, but like I always try to get
Also,
out with
that's
100%.
it's a big consistency issue in the design of Conquest if you add ambush spawns there, because Conquest is designed in a way that the game has 0 ambush spawns. Adding 1 set of ambush spawns is infinitely more egregious than making every single
That's fair.
reinforcement in
Yeah,
that
they
game
should
an
make
ambush spawn.
more.
Yeah, the whole thing is that like if you have it once, it's always in the back of your mind that it could happen again
Right,
anywhere.
so they should be used frequently and consistently.
Or
if
not
you're
at
going
all.
to use them.
I mean, I think that if the game is set up in a way that like you can just get away with not using them, I think it's good. I think most games are set up that way in the Fire Emblem series at this point. But like I don't know, like it is kind of weird because like honestly, the game that I feel like ambush spawns are the least egregious is Thracia, which is crazy because every single reinforcement in that game is an ambush spawn, and they'll throw like ambush spawn ballistas and shit at you. But I think it's just a mix of your unit quality being so high, and also you like even like 6 chapters into the game, you're expecting fucking everything, and you have the tools
You're
to deal with
expecting
anything. You're like the boogeyman in Thracia is not the boogeyman. That his name is Shozo Kaga, and he's very real. And he will get you if you're not preparing for weird corner cases. And I think
you can see the boogeyman. You know he's there.
Yeah,
Instead of, like,
and he
the
shows up every
boogeyman
chapter,
might
so
be
it's like,
there.
okay, yeah, I know this exists.
Thracia's biggest
Preparing
Thracia's
for it
biggest issue
might
is that
be
the
there.
reinforcements in Chapter 10 don't have door keys.
On
I
chapter
do
10
also
of
have a thing. Like,
Thracia?
I've never played Thracia, so I don't know.
Is it, I forget if it's 10 or whatever the map where you can get soft locked by not having door keys.
You're thinking of Endgame.
There's
Oh,
a lot of maps in Thracia technically where that's possible, but like
yeah.
to me that's like saying, man, you can get soft locked in most Fire Emblem games if you throw out all of your weapons.
True.
Like,
Watch, I'm going to give you.
True, but I mean, like, we have to be real. I mean, that's not the point of this video. That's not the point of this discussion, anyways. I was gonna say something and I forgot, so I'm just gonna say that I'm ready to vote. If you guys are,
I feel like I want a little bit more. I've been having notes on the side. I don't know if any of you guys have also been writing down notes. I have my notes that like I think what you're saying is genuine, but I think you could be misrepresenting your take on it a little bit. Because in your first initial speech, you were primarily talking about them as an incentive to go faster, whereas I see them as an incentive to go slower and to tread carefully around like stairs or doors. You're seeing them.
I'm talking about reinforcements from the back, like what is it? The bridge map in FE6, Chapter 11A, shit like that. Where it's like, okay, these reinforcements are far enough away that it's actually more of a hassle to go back and fight them than it is to just get the map done with.
Things like military.
Yeah. You're seeing them as like an incentive to go faster so you don't have to deal with them.
Yeah, and in that situation, I feel like I would much rather just have them spawn one turn earlier and not be reinforcements. And if you really just want the player to be put on like a turn limit that's not explicitly listed, then just add like a Galzus enemy on the map. That's like Faith. If Fire Emblem Heroes can get away with putting an enemy that has a can't be killed flag on map, you can get away with doing it too.
Yeah. Thing important here is that we're not arguing to see. Like, we're arguing our points to be right. We're arguing our perspectives, and then we're trying to figure out who's lying.
Mm-hmm.
That's the goal. Because, like, ideally, I would just, like, go in and accept be like, they're either implemented and implemented poorly for the first player or don't matter at all. But, like, I don't care about that right now. It's finding out who's lying here. I think Lag is innocent. I feel like I've sussed him out. I think he's innocent. Meister's not said a lot, so it's possible he's the imposter. I'm not sure.
Y'all have also been talking over me, and I've been trying to avoid doing that.
Okay,
I'm sorry,
well, you know, go ahead. No, if there's anything you want to say, then say it.
Okay, so ambush spawns are in a really weird spot where it's like there are a few that I like, several that I hate, and then some that I just think are funny. And there's also maps that I think would benefit from them. I think any route map is any route map with reinforcements is better if they're ambush spawns than if they aren't ambush spawns, because especially if it has a lot of reinforcements, like obviously I've recently been playing Silent Waves, and that game has several route maps with like 40 enemies and reinforcements, and that's annoying. And I think that it would legitimately be a better thing for that game if they had ambush spawns. And I think that also goes, I'm going to just draw from Birthright. Chapter 23. Why are they not ambush spawns? It hurts me to have to backtrack to kill sometimes, because there's a couple that spawn far away from where my position usually is, and I have to go to them.
Well, again, I don't know, because it's a little weird in Birthright because like Xander exists, but I think that it's because they're trying to maintain a consistent level of this game does not do ambush spawns, and that's just not within the purview of the game. We've designed.
The thing with Xander, is that he shows up and starts moving immediately, specifically for story, but he has a 0% chance of killing any of your units immediately. Where like
I've actually
in theory,
been killed by him before.
Okay, well you have to be trying to do it. You
Yeah.
have to be throwing yourself out there. But like in chapter 23, for example, like it would make the map faster, but then in theory you have like someone that they would probably be cabs and wyverns. You'd have someone like in the hallway, and then Azura could just be there having sung to someone, and then a wyvern could just show up and bonk her for like 40% accuracy, but still kill her. And it's like, damn, should have played around that, I guess. But like, also it'd be like the only real ambush spawn in the game, and it'd just be pretty bad, and you're not expecting that. There's a whole thing, like, I think if you're gonna do ambush spawns, you have to like have the whole game around them, and have them not be like so threatening that they can just immediately kill someone immediately. But that just feels like just not worth it. Like, the thing is, I see it as they're either implemented and I don't like them, or they're not there and I'm happy, or if I'm playing the game the second time, I look up a guide so I don't have to deal with them, because they're really annoying.
Yeah, I mean,
But, like-
I like FE12 a lot, but I literally just like the amber spawns add nothing to me nothing in that game for me.
I don't know if that's actually true. Like the Three Houses Chapter 5 thieves, they would be fundamentally different enemies if they weren't ambush spawns. And it has nothing to do with the information. Like, even once you know they're there, they are still fundamentally different than if they appeared and didn't move. So I don't think you can say that a guide completely invalidates ambush spawns. Like, no, they don't. In like FE12, for instance, you frequently will leave a unit on a fort to block ambush spawns because they're ambush spawns.
I mean, that's the same thing, but like...
That's going to block them even if they're regular non-ambush reinforcements. I don't think leaving them on the fort matters. I think positioning so that you don't, like... If you know them and you're positioning so you don't get killed by them, sure, that's being changed by the fact that they're ambush spawns, but, like, I mean, I guess, like, by your definition, but I think that it's, like... I think Farron's, like, trying to get at here is, if the enemy is... Like, if you know that it exists, then there's two big elements of ambush spawn, which is that they're basically intangible for a turn, and that you don't know they exist. One of those two things is completely neutralized by either prior knowledge or looking up a guide, which is actually a surprising amount of the plays in Fire Emblem, because if you ever play a game again, you probably remember a decent amount of the shit that happens in it. So, like, the threat range / the fact that they're, like, intangible for the turn that they spawn because you can't actually kill them, that's something that does exist, but I think the way that you usually mitigate that is not, I don't know, it's not, like, super interesting, but maybe I've been playing a lot of Engage, and I'm just thinking about how I would just pop a Fire Dragon Bane there, and it would be no problem.
Well, right, that's a problem with Engage. Oh, go ahead, Meister.
There is exactly one alternative to ambush spawns as a purpose of making the player go fast that I think are interesting, and I am actually going to go to Engage for this. Engage, the chapter you get Seedall, you have the 4 berserkers that show up, and they're just insanely juiced.
Yeah.
And they exist, like, I don't think they're used well in that map, because Engage.
You can't fucking kill them.
Yeah, they have no res.
You can just kill them. It's so funny.
You can just Ivy. You can just hit them with the Ivy. But, like, if they were, like, used in a way that was actually interesting instead of just, hey, the whole game has been encouraging you to make use of this one bulky magic flyer, and guess what?
Yes, you're talking about Galzus. You're talking about Galzus is what you're doing. You're talking about an enemy that can't be killed, that is making you go fast in a way that's not by just defining a turn limit. That's like, if you don't go beat the map in this number of turns, you just lose.
Yeah, I don't think ambush spawns really add anything to that, because, like, you could just have a unit show up.
I think the idea is that, like, that's a way to implement the concept of ambush spawns as an intangible entity without actually having ambush spawns.
I don't think that does what ambush spawns actually do, though.
Yeah, it's just kind of there for, like, oh, they're here and they're moving, instead of, like, oh, they're here and they killed your unit, because, like, ideally you won't be there, and, like, if you were still at the beginning area for that point, you somewhat deserve it. But, like, if you're near, like, a stair and you're just moving up to the middle of the map and all of a sudden a wyvern just shows up and kills, like, one of your dancers, like, that's not fair or interesting. That's just, like...
Well, I think you're assuming... Dude. Well, because I said Galzus, you guys are assuming that it's a really strong unit. What if it's just a really weak unit you can't kill? Like, what if hear me, but the point is that you know that that even on the first playthrough, you know that they exist, so you don't have to, like, you're not just randomly menuing for, like, the Divine Pulse. It's a little annoying. But the idea is, like, let's say those chapter...
But if it reaches a unit, it kills them instantaneously.
If it reaches the right unit, it kills them. And the idea is that you're, like, in this concept, right, the good gameplay is that you have to play around a unit that you can't kill because they get first dibs on you, like, they get initiative against you. You can't kill them before they get to attack you, at least. So the idea is that you have to play around it in a specific way by positioning, and that provides interesting gameplay. What I'm saying is, you can add a unit with the can't be killed flag that's not a reinforcement, that just loses the flag in a turn. I guess, you know what, I'm literally just describing Conquest 19. Okay, never mind. Yeah, no, I take it back.
I think they could be done.
I would far rather the Kitsune just be ambushes.
No, that's ridiculous. I don't think so.
I was thinking about, like, how to do those Chapter 5 thieves, like, how would they operate still with like their pass thing? If they just showed up and they were invincible and they could still had pass, like yeah, they technically do the same thing. But you have the option to just like running away, and they
You could run away. The idea is that they spawn a turn earlier than
they would be different.
Yeah, but they're zone based. That's
They
different.
spawn zone-based.
That's
The thing that they do, I hate the thing that they do because like you put your units there, like okay, I'm gonna press forward in the map, and they show up, they pass through all of your units, and then kill Marianne or something, and it's like what the hell, man?
Yeah, but and even if you know that they exist, it's not like it's also kind of like really route dependent. Because I'm gonna be honest, the blue lines do not give a fuck about those thieves. Full stop. You just put like
Well, all of the houses have easy answers to them. There's a million ways
they
to answer
do.
them, and that's the
It's
point.
just like the thing is, I don't like that you have to like a new player will just get completely blindsided by it by something they could not predict, and every single time after you play the
They
game,
aren't. They have a rewind.
And also,
Yeah, they have a rewind.
are they
Yeah,
ambush
it's just a
spawns
stupid way to
outside
say
of?
it.
Are they
what was
ambush spawns outside
Meister trying to
maddening?
say?
I don't think so. Are they? I don't know.
But what was Meister trying to say? Because he hasn't been able to talk much.
But it's mostly that, like, as an incentive to go fast, I would rather, like, Galzus or a Tonberry show up, and they can't move at first, but they can move later, and it's like, alright, there's no real turn limit, but there's an artificial turn limit. And
Hold
you
on, my
gotta
dog
play
is
around-
fucking barking. I'll be right back.
And you gotta play around that now? I
So
think that would be more interesting than just, oh yeah, the enemy moves before you can actually do anything about them. But that's mostly because I am not exactly a fan of the FE12's ambush spawn design, because it's more like, hey, look at this, vomit. And it just...
So, I don't think ambush spawns as a way to make you go fast are the interesting aspect of ambush spawns. I think ambush spawns are interesting when these enemies being invulnerable and appearing when they do forces you to interact with this section of the map and solve a different puzzle.
Different than what though, right? Because like in three houses, like there's the
cannot
situation where
create-
they're not ambush spawns, because it's not different from anything because there's no comparison point in a game like FE6. They're always ambush
Right.
spawns.
Yeah, but like, I'm not necessarily saying that all ambush spawns do this really well. Like, I think the Three Houses Chapter 5 ones are the gold standard. That's why I keep bringing them up. Like,
I
that
think
is an
there's
interesting
one
puzzle that you
aspect-
can't create without.
There is one aspect to the Three Houses ambush spawns that I do hate, and I've already said it. If you give your ambush spawns pass, you have made a mistake.
I do think that they're a little strong, but it's fine. Again, it's infinitely more forgivable in a game like Three Houses that has a turn wheel than it is in a game like FE6 or FE12 that do not have turn wheels. Even in FE12, at least you have a fucking save
Back.
point, dude.
What's up, guys?
Yeah, I mean,
The
if
dog
you
was
have,
barking
like,
at nothing.
the only issue with them is that sometimes they aren't communicated properly. And so if you have a way to rewind, then, like, who cares?
Right, and yeah, but I mean that means that you're saying that like they're not implemented properly. I guess that is what you were saying from the beginning, is that like ambush spawns are they're a worthwhile concept, but maybe not always implemented properly.
Right, they're a worthwhile concept that sometimes are implemented incorrectly, and I would prefer that they be implemented consistently in a way that is good and interesting.
Yeah, I mean, listen. What you're saying sounds compelling. I'm gonna have to see somebody actually do that before I agree with it. That's I'm gonna have to see like an official game actually do that and implement it properly in the way that you're suggesting before I can figure out whether I actually like it. Because I don't trust ROM hack creators. Like I have fun playing them, but I do not trust them.
I've seen enough Fates ROM hacks to know. Oh, people don't know what they're doing a lot of the time.
All right, are you guys ready?
I think I'm ready to vote.
I'm ready.
Can we give out our rankings? Like this most likely.
No, it's just one person. It's just one person.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Seppi, are you ready?
Yeah, I mean, how are we posting these?
Well, I'll say I'm gonna go 3, 2, 1, go. When I say go, we'll post in the preparing stream chat.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll also announce it, like say who we voted. All right.
Okay. Well, like who we're voting, not like who it is. Okay. So imposter, do not reveal yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let me know when you guys are ready.
I'm
I'm
ready.
ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
I think it's Meister.
I think it's
I
Meister
think it's
too.
Septi. Septi is really good at arguing,
you're
and she's always good at asserting herself.
I think it's too moderate for you, Lag.
This take is too moderate for me. I guess I started off really militant, but it's like I sort of do believe in this idea where like Fire Emblem is not reached its max potential, so I think I could be proven wrong. And that's the only thing I'm leading for. Ambush spawns as they exist right now are a plague against humanity. But in the future, it could not be a plague against humanity, and I think that's worth expressing. But I am not the imposter. Who is the imposter?
I'm the imposter. I fucking hate ambush spawns, dog.
I do too. They suck ass.
I think the word like it's Septi is like kind of in the
suspicious.
minority because she's a Fates player that doesn't like ambush spawns, which is I think much less common because like Fates is the game that like tells you fucking everything, probably more than you wish you knew.
Yeah.
That's sort of part of what the game's design is like. There's no fog of war, so you can see the map at all times. The game tells you what the fuck you're doing. Like it's pretty like it's reasonably transparent, definitely more than like the other Fire Emblem games. And so ambush spawns tend to irritate Fate players.
I think preparing for the unknown is a reasonable skill.
I don't think that's unreasonable to say, but I think the unknown like is still already present in the form of there's always going to be variance in terms implemented with player skill, accuracy, shit like that, critical hits, proc skill, stuff like that. I don't think that adding an extra layer of unpredictability is even necessary, because I think the way that Fates already implements like unpredictability is actually very fun, because like if you mess up, you can always make one mistake in Fates no matter what. The second mistake might just completely nuke you, but the first mistake is free.
The thing with that, what Septi's saying, like, you got to prepare for the unknown. I think they already do that in Fates. They just have reinforcements show up there, and then you see them, and you could react to the unknown, but you're not. The unknown shows up, beats you to death, and it's like, all right, restart the chapter, buddy.
I think there's some people that hate. Oh no, go for it.
Difficulty in how you interact with that.
Some people think that the Chapter 9 Conquest ambush, Conquest reinforcements are worse than like FE6, like the worst ambush spawns in the series because they're so strong. I don't think it's an unreasonable take, because they are like relatively strong compared to the rest of the army, and they do just kind of fucking show up. And there's 4 of them on Lunatic.
There's a lot of them.
People argue that knowing about ambush spawn knowing about the ambush spawns takes away the effect. Knowing about those reinforcements makes them even more irrelevant than knowing about ambush spawns.
That's true. I mean, that's in a weird situation where you can, because there's like you can literally just never trigger the zone. That's a bit of a different situation. Like spiritually, I think. Okay, so
Meister. I know what Meister's big lie was. Meister's big lie was that he saw them only as a speed up for routing, so that they could get to him faster.
Yeah, no real Fates player gives a shit about speed,
every single nuance of like, oh, I'm near them and they suck.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, like, would Sacred Stones Chapter 15 be better if they were ambush spawns? I don't think so, but maybe.
It makes
It would
them
be
mad
better for
less.
draft race, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I can imagine. Honestly, any patch note that exists to make LTC and efficiency players' lives easier is a patch note that I don't care for, because they're gonna do what they do no matter what you do.
Yeah. But like I'm taking a look at these conquest these Chapter 9 reinforcements, and it's like it's a 12 attack spear fighter with a steel weapon. This is what you're scared of?
There's the one.
Yes, do you realize, like, it's really hard to double those guys at that point in the game. So you have to 2-hit KO them, and also they can, like, disconnect your army, and you have to, like, break through them and also get, like, into a safe position. And also there's, like, a guy with a dual Naginata in there, too. Like, they have extra weapons.
So Bolt one. The thing is that, like, there's, like, 12 of them, so you do have to deal with someone enemy phase. You, like, decide who do I kill and who can I survive. And I think that's interesting.
What? The Bolt guy is 21 attack?
21 magical attack in Conquest.
That early? That early is pretty good. Like, it's Chapter 9. This is the 3rd chapter of the game.
Alright, let me
be clear.
Hit you with something real quick.
Let me clear.
Let me pull up the enemy stats on Wanderer, aka Rev 9. Let me scroll to Lunatic difficulty. Spear Fighter. Okay, technically this is an Iron Naginata guy, but that honestly, he's even bulkier.
I don't think the bulk matters. It's mostly the speed. Like, even if they were like 2 points faster, it wouldn't matter because you would still be in the point where you just can't. You don't really typically double them.
Right. You one shot them.
If you're one shotting these fucking spear fighter guys, something has gone horribly wrong with your.
Nah, Corn can do it pretty often.
Yeah, but I don't really think that. I don't think that's a worthwhile way to handle it, especially because of how high level your Corn's gonna fucking end up being.
Okay,
Yeah, but see, this is the thing.
These Rev ones are faster. They are the same speed as the Conquest 9 ones, and they have identical attack and more bulk.
Sure, but they're not like there's not like four spear fighters with seal skills with different weaponry shoved all the way up your ass the way that it is for like the way it is with the other ones. Also, Septi was saying something.
No, I just find it funny that like your problem with I have an extremely easy solution if I can just hide behind this one unit who will one shot them all on enemy face is like no, this unit won't gain any XP because we're playing Conquest, so the most important thing to maximize is our EXP gain.
I mean, it's not like anything is worth. It's not like what do you get out of having Corden do that? You get to go faster. Who the fuck cares?
I'd dislike them more if they were ambush spawns. I'll be real, like 12 enemies showing up and then beating the shit out of you.
Yeah,
like,
that would be fucked up. I'm not gonna lie, especially because you don't have a Divine Pulse. That's like the 3 houses one, except you don't have Divine Pulse either.
Yeah,
no, I don't have the 3 houses ones at all. Because the 3 houses ones, like, if those were ambush spawns, I could see them reasonably killing a unit. 3 houses ones don't usually kill anything.
I mean, there's some 3 houses one that can.
They don't kill anything because you play around them.
There's the Falcon Knights. The Falcon Knights eventually, like, those guys are scary. But like the Thieves, they can double and just kill a unit. And honestly, 3 houses enemies are just significantly more threatening than Fate's enemies. But then your units do get eventually your 3 houses units get like a lot more powerful. Except for that one point in chapter 13 where they're like all there. And then like chapter 14 is still pretty hard, and after that it's like a coasting down, and end game can be kind of hard-ish if you don't like skip it, but like you could probably just skip it. But
I don't know. I think like, I expected the second I heard everybody's takes, I was like, this is exactly how it's gonna shake down. Maybe not what you guys guessed. I can't believe you guessed me, Meister. That's ridiculous. But
well, he's lying.
Meister wasn't right.
I guess you just guessed. I guess it doesn't matter.
You guess for whoever. I'm the only loser here.
Yeah,
I was too tunnel vision on Septi. I was suspicious of Meister, but I was just like, Septi always is really good at arguing. I think she could mask a bad argument as a good argument.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is that she's got the forked tongue. She's too good.
She's got whack ass takes. Also, she's probably like very far removed from like the first time FE player experience.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of we all have a lack of perspective, but like Septi especially, because you're saying that Conquest is like easy as a first time game, because that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's hard the first time. It's hard the first time. It's very hard because like the way you're conditioned to play from like Birthright and Awakening
from any Fire Emblem game, it's very different.
Right. I can only give my first time opinions on Conquest. I can't speak for anyone else.
When I played Conquest for the first time, I thought it was very hard but doable. And my first time experience playing like the hardest difficulty in any other Fire Emblem game was like, this is fucking impossible. So I guess in that sense, it is easier.
Yeah, Conquest came across as easier, didn't it?
But it's not easier. It's not easier in the sense that the challenge itself posed is easier. It's easier in the sense that it's fair. It's a game that meets you on an equal.
It's a game that rewards skill.
It's on the same level as you, and it meets you as an equal. It respects you to at least some degree.
And it's like a game that rewards skill. If you're better at like these cool like positioning stuff and like more aggressive tactics, you're gonna do better than like if you're cower in fear.
Like I think Awakening and FE12, quote unquote, rewards skill more.
Yeah, but they also like
FE12 rewards.
They also punish. They also like punish you playing not the way. Like Conquest is like the most.
Hard.
It's like super tunneled on making sure that if you play well, you get rewarded. Every time that I didn't get a resource that a better player would have gotten, it wasn't like me getting fucked over for not playing the game the way they wanted. It was me not getting rewarded for playing the game the way that it wanted to be played. I'm explaining this horribly. All right, you guys have time for the second one? I can do an outro and we can do the second one.
I do.
I think this one would be a lot more interesting.
I have the thing I wanted to do at the beginning, and this is the blooper. I'm not the imposter. It's
I'm
all
not
in
the
your
imposter.
head.
It's all in your head. That song is fucking crazy.
If I was the imposter,
Why don't we have
you'd
a-
be
why don't we have-
dead.
The fact that they do
You're trying
Eminem's
to
verse
frame
is
me,
ridiculous.
stop holding your breath. You're trying to catch
I need
me
to go check
because
on
you
Google before we
suspect
get
me.
stuck with one.
And then the Eminem verse, yeah. No, that song has no reason having the production quality that it does.
Sir. That's a big assumption to make.
Okay, calm yourself down. It's time to fucking do the outro. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. We're gonna have one episode of this up every week. Comment in the comments if you guys think there's anything fun to discuss. Next week's episode is going to be about weapon durability. See you guys next time.